Hello, it's Randi Rhodes. Here's a clip from our show, and go to randyrhodes.com for the whole thing and a podcast. Buy a stinking podcast.
Segment of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show. Turn up your mind.
The Russians clearly intervened in the election. The Russians intervened to help Trump.
I don't doubt that the Russians are hacking us.
We need a select committee. We need to get to the bottom of this. There's no doubt they were interfering, and no doubt it was a cyber attacks. The question now is how much and what damage and what should the United States of America do?
We have good sources of information. We don't want to disclose those. I'm sure the Russians would love to know the source of information so they can take countermeasures. For the president-elect to continue to give the Russians deniability is deeply damaging to the country.
I think Putin is evil. I think the Russians are guilty of incredibly evil hacking around the world. They constantly try to hack the United States. I'm not in any way defending Russia, but I'm saying this final conclusion about what he's saying about Trump and Clinton, if they have evidence, show it. They have not shown it yet.
It's very much unknown whether there was collusion. I think Russian diplomats have said post-election that they were talking to the Trump campaign. What did Trump Inc. know, and when did they know it? Were they in touch with the Russians? I think those are still open questions, and the electors have a right to know what the answers are if the U.S. government has those answers before the election.
The entire nonsense about the electors trying to use the Russian hacking issue to change the election results is really unfortunate. I think that actually undermines our democracy more than any other conversation that we're having right now. John, where's the evidence? Why, when CIA officials were invited to a House intelligence briefing last week, did they refuse to go? Instead, they're talking to the media. That undermines our national security, our intelligence operations.
But
Why
does
are they
he
doing
himself
that?
have evidence, Kellyanne, that suggests that this isn't the case?
Well, the president-elect receives intelligence briefings that I am not privy to.
Oh, she doesn't know.
There's no escaping the fact.
She doesn't know. She's not completely clear whether or not Well, there was a big hearing today, and the hearing was held by the Senate Armed Services Committee, and it included James Clapper, the outgoing DNI, the defense, the national defense guy, intelligence guy. Wait, I'll tell you today, because I think we now know who will replace James Clapper, who fired. Remember, James Clapper fired Michael Flynn, who's going to be Trump's national security advisor. So James Clapper was up on Capitol Hill today answering questions about, what do we know about the Russians hacking, and what do we know about our elections, and how were they affected by it, and did it happen, and how do you know it happened, and when did you know it happened, and what do we do about it? And Clapper said that he is more sure now than he was back in October. That the intelligence community is even more sure now, more convinced now, that not only did the Russians hack and release documents through Julian Assange, but that they did it to help Donald Trump win. So I'm thinking a Russian-themed inauguration might be in order here. I mean, they have fabulous dancers. They got the Bolshoi, and they have Pussy Riot. I think this would be appropriate for Donald Trump's inaugural. He can't find talent, right? So why not just go all out Russian-themed? Why not just do it? Let the Russians supply the performers. Apparently, they supplied all the news. This hearing was so amazing this morning because questions were asked about fake news, questions were asked about DC Leaks, a website, questions were asked about Guccifer, questions were asked about, and the answer from James Clapper, the outgoing DNI, and Donald Trump doesn't believe any of this. Do you know, this is the scariest thing. I mean, our entire intelligence apparatus, all 17 agencies, are in 100% agreement, even more sure today than they were in October, that the Russians hacked, and they said it was a multifaceted, very sophisticated. They didn't even want to talk about, because they haven't briefed the President of the United States yet. They will be doing that now. Okay, today's the day that President Obama will get briefed on what the classified version of this report having to do with Russian hacking, Russian fake news dissemination, Russian websites, pretending to be, reliable news sources here in the United States, and pure propaganda. These were the words that were used by the intelligence people that showed up today. You had Admiral Rogers, who's the NSA director from Cyber Command. I mean, we had all these really heavy hitters up on Capitol Hill giving testimony today about what really happened. And of course, it was in an open session, so a lot of what they said was to, they said, well, we can't tell you this today because we have to protect methods and sources, number one. Number two, whatever Julian Assange says, this guy is a dangerous man as far as American security is concerned. He has given the names of our intel officers. He's put them in danger prior to this. He has no credibility. He is not a friend of the United States of America. He is actually an adversary of the United States of America. And how, and when Clapper was asked stuff like, well, what do you make of the president-elect taking the word of Julian Assange over our intelligence community? He said, that's not a decision for me to make. That's not I can't tell you what to do. I can't tell you what to think. I won't tell you what to think, and I won't tell you what to do. All I can tell you is that, you got somebody who's tweeting in agreement with a guy who we know at the intelligence agencies put our intelligence officers in danger, has done it before, will do it again, and has no credibility whatsoever. I mean, it was the most amazing thing I ever saw. It was just incredible. And McCain,
There's no escaping the fact that this committee meets today for the first time in this new Congress in the aftermath of an unprecedented attack on our democracy.
Oh, this is the wrong clip. See, here's the problem with having too many of them. Yeah, that's not it, because that... Let me hang on a second. Oh, let's show this report first, because this'll keep it in chronological order. Okay, this is like New Year's Eve. Okay, this was the ABC World News New Year's Eve. Okay.
But it was on New Year's Eve, Mr. Trump said, I know things that other people don't know about the hacking, saying he would reveal that by today. We did not hear from him on that front, but he did tweet mocking U.S. intelligence. ABC's chief investigative correspondent Brian Ross tonight.
Today was the day Donald Trump was supposed to make good on his New Year's Eve promise to reveal what no one else knew about the hacking of the Democratic Party.
I also know things that other people don't know, and so they cannot be sure of this situation.
Like what do you know that other people don't know?
You'll find out on Tuesday or Wednesday.
But so far this Wednesday, no revelations about hacking from the president-elect's skyscraper office in New York. But Trump was active on Twitter, continuing to taunt the U.S. intelligence community about its findings. The, quote, intelligence briefing on so-called, quote, Russian hacking was delayed until Friday. Perhaps more time needed to build a case. Very strange! Exclamation point. But U.S. officials tell ABC News tonight there was no delay. The briefing had always been scheduled for Friday.
Oh, my God.
But while insulting U.S. intelligence, Trump today is embracing fugitive WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange, considered by many to be an enemy of America. Assange told Trump's Fox News friend Sean Hannity the Russians had no role in providing the stolen emails to WikiLeaks.
Our source is not the Russian government. And it is not a state party.
6 years ago on Fox, Trump attacked WikiLeaks for leaking U.S. secrets.
I think it's disgraceful. You do think it's disgraceful? I think this should be like death penalty or something.
But now Trump, who has praised Russian leader Vladimir Putin, is also pointing to Assange as a man who should be listened to. U.S. officials say Assange does not know what he's talking about.
There's no way that Assange would have any idea who was behind dropping this information off. The Russian intelligence services are clearly capable of hiding their tracks.
16 days before Trump becomes commander-in-chief, the country's leading Democrat is warning he could face serious payback once in office.
You take on the intelligence community, they have 6 ways from Sunday at getting back at you. So even for a practical, supposedly hard-nosed businessman, he's being really dumb to do this.
Well, let's ask more about that, Brian.
Now, so that begs the question, if he's such a smart, hard-nosed businessman, and he's about to be the president of the United States because that's the quality that you admired most about him, and he's trashing our intelligence agency and taking the side of a guy who holds himself up in the Ecuadorian embassy in London for 4 years, trying to escape sexual assault charges or rape charges. Why? Why would Donald Trump what else? Disrespect, disavow, disregard the conclusion of our entire intelligence apparatus that clearly says that Russia was engaged in heavy-duty propaganda in our elections and that they did it to help Donald Trump win? Well, of course, the only answer is that Donald Trump doesn't want to know that, Russia helped him win. Donald Trump wants to believe that, even though he didn't win the popular vote, he won the Electoral College on his own because he was so smart. But you screw with the intelligence agencies, and then what happens? When you really need to rely on intelligence, or you find out that you've been hacked by the Russians and that we need to respond to that in some way. He just denies reality. Now, if 330 million Americans can accept the reality that in 15 days, the American empire is over and that Donald Trump will be the next president, then I think Donald Trump can accept some bad news too. But he's such a lily-livered, thin-skinned narcissist that he can't accept the truth that he was chosen by a foreign government to be the next president of the United States and that they employed all kinds of methods, all kinds of ways. It wasn't just simply the hacking, which is what we found out today in this open hearing. Now, just so you know, when Donald Trump tweeted, "Oh, isn't that interesting that I was supposed to get briefed and then they moved the briefing to Friday. Maybe they need more time to make a case." And he put the word intelligence in quotes to trash them. He's so stupid that he didn't realize that he couldn't possibly be briefed before the president of the United States. Currently, that would never happen. And the president of the United States currently is being briefed today, and Donald Trump will be briefed tomorrow. And it was always scheduled that way, just as this hearing was scheduled to occur today in an open format at the Armed Services Committee. Now, there will be another one. There'll be another hearing at the Senate Foreign Relations Committee to discuss sanctions on Russia to decimate their economy, which is hanging by a thread right now, which is something that no one here in this country talks about. Russia is it's gone to like the 16th largest economy in the world. I mean, it's hanging on literally by a thread. When I went to Russia, they had all these cranes. Okay, all these cranes scattered about the city. It was after Sochi, and they wanted to give the impression that they were very busy building stuff, very, very busy building, but nothing was being built. No one was working the cranes. No one was manning the cranes. The cranes didn't move. We were there for almost. Oh, what is that?
Do you believe that they?
I think it's coming from your computer.
Well, nothing. I don't. Oh man.
Well, again, without preempting the report, that's
I don't.
tradecraft that the Russians have long.
No, don't shut it down. No.
Particularly when they're using.
I don't know. I don't know. I honestly don't know. But here's a little. I guess we're gonna have like three things playing at the same time.
To deliberately.
I don't know what that is.
Let me just ask one more time.
Oh, okay. Wait, here. It's C-SPAN. Of course it is. Right here.
General Clapper, one of the aspects of this Russian hacking was not just disseminating information that they had exploited from computers, but also the allegations of fake news sites, fake news stories that were propagated. Is that an accurate, or is that one aspect of this problem?
Yes, without getting too far in front of the headlights of our rollout next week to the Congress, this was a multifaceted campaign. So the hacking was only one part of it, and it also entailed classical propaganda, disinformation, fake news.
That was James Clapper answering a question posed to him by the Senator Jack Reed from Rhode Island. Okay. And he said, was this multifaceted, what else was involved in all of that? And he said, it was everything. He said he doesn't want to get out too far ahead of the next because you have to brief the president today. Tomorrow, Donald Trump, if he accepts his intelligence briefing, I have no idea if he will or not, because unless it comes from Julian Assange, apparently Trump doesn't want to, believe it. So, but then next week, there will be another hearing in front of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee to discuss what to do about it. Now, what Clapper said today was, you can't always answer cyber with cyber. Like if somebody cyber attacks you, or if somebody is in your social media and they're feeding out propaganda and they're appearing as legitimate news source, but they're really fake news source, or if somebody, the answer isn't always an equal and opposite reaction. Sometimes you want to crash their economy. Sometimes you want to go after them on a different playing field, one that would really hurt them, because the way that now this is what happened with China, by the way. Obama engaged China because China was doing a lot of corporate espionage and stealing a lot of the patented, designs and things that, companies are they try to keep secret for their own enrichment, obviously, because they've spent money developing these ideas and building these ideas and bringing them to market. And so they patent these ideas, and these ideas need to be, it's like, you remember when they wanted to break into, I guess it was an iPhone, and Apple, this is really weird, and Apple said, well, if we can't start helping governments, we just can't start. Well, you know what? They helped China today, Apple did. Oh, hell yeah, they helped China today. China said, we don't want the iPhone to be sold here in China with the New York Times app on it, because we don't allow our people to read the New York Times, because then they would understand what was going on in the world. You hear that, America? It's like the key to the kingdom is the information that investigative journalism can provide. And they said today they would take the app off. They take the New York Times app off. But okay, so we're talking about proprietary information. Well, Obama talked to the Chinese and helped them out in some way that they found, helpful. And then they said, okay, then we'll stop our espionage. We'll stop, looking at corporate, patents and stuff. And apparently, according to the intelligence guys today in their opening statement, they said that had a very large effect in stemming Chinese espionage in our private sector, in our corporate sector. Go to RandyRhodes.com for the whole thing and a podcast. Buy a stinking podcast.